Hurston Waldrep's new pitch is the key to unlocking his potential. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Monday, August 11th, your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. We're proudly part of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. A lot of stuff I want to get to today. Drake Baldwin versus Isaac Collins for Rookie of the Year. I want to get to Atlanta's offense over the weekend, but as I'm an amateur pitching nerd, I would be neglect to mention and discuss the new pitch from Hurston Waldrep. We saw Waldrep called up on Saturday for Game 1 of the doubleheader, and interestingly, he was not the 27th man. He was legitimately a call-up, a standard call-up, and he stayed in Atlanta after the start. So the Braves technically have 6 starters in the majors, and they're a man short right now. Because they have Spencer Strider, Carlos Carrasco, Bryce Elder, Hurston Waldrep, Eric Fetty, Joey Wentz are the 6 starters they have in Atlanta right now. And they're a man short in the bullpen because of it. So either one of those guys is either going down or being DFA'd, or they're going to move one of them into the bullpen. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what they choose to do. But anyway, back to Waldrep. So in that start on Saturday, Braves win this 7-1. Easy win by Atlanta. Hurston Waldrep, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Now, obviously the biggest thing here, the walks. He had issues with control earlier in his career, but ever since he fixed his mechanics, he's been a lot more under control. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago, or maybe back in May at this point. But the pitch usage was a little bit different here as well. And everybody said, hey, after a couple appearances, he went back to his splitter being the primary pitch. And technically, yes, but in reality, no. So Hurston Waldrep, differently than what he had been doing, he's still throwing that four-seam fastball. He used 12 of them in his 89 pitches on Saturday. He also threw 10 cutters. That's a newer pitch for him he added this year. But he also threw 18 sinkers. And the sinker's the new pitch here. And to me, this is the key to unlocking the whole potential for Hurston Waldrep. So, I guess first, how he got it. And then we'll talk about why I think it's so important. He caught Sean Murphy caught him in a rehab start early in the year. He pitched against Nashville, and it wasn't a bad start. But Waldrep said Murphy the next day came to him. I'm going to read the quote that he gave to the media on Saturday, including David O'Brien of The Athletic. Quote, he's, hey man, let's go over the start a little bit. Let's look over some things. He noticed some things in my four-seam. I think it would be really easy for you to throw a sinker right here. And I agreed. I threw it in the bullpen 2 days later. And Waldrep admits that he had a lot of work to do to get it to the point where he could use it in the majors. He did a lot of video analysis, looking at other pitchers who have a similar arsenal to him, meaning they have a great splitter and a poor four-seam fastball, and really worked on it and tried to fix it. So credit to Sean Murphy for unlocking the potential in Hurston Waldrep. And side note, this is why I don't want the Braves to trade Sean Murphy. I like having the depth. There's a route next year to have both of them in the lineup a little more often than they were earlier this year. And you get things like that where, and I said something like last year about maybe you should just give him a sinker. But it's different when it comes from a peer. And obviously, my opinion doesn't matter. Sean Murphy's does if you're Hurston Waldrep. So, part of the reason I don't want them to trade Sean Murphy is because of the veteran knowledge and the ability to do things like that, right? But the reason the sinker is so big for Hurston Waldrep, if you remember the conversation about the fastball, the four-seam fastball, the fundamental fastball he's thrown his entire life, was that it was a dead zone shape. It doesn't have great induced vertical break. It doesn't have great horizontal movement. And so because of that, it does exactly what the hitters think it's going to do. It is the same movement profile as what they expect it to be when it comes out of the hand. And that was going to be a limiting factor for him for a while. It would be a fastball that you could hit. Now, he has good velocity on it, so the Stuff Plus came out to just around average on the four-seam fastball, 100. By comparison, his splitter is a 151, which, as I'm scrolling through the Fangraph Stuff Plus board, that is the best pitch any pitcher has thrown for the Atlanta Braves this year. Spencer Schwellenbach's splitter, by contrast, is at a 123. Daisybel Hernandez's slider is a 124. Spencer Strider's not there. Nobody's stuff is anywhere near a 151. If you expand out to the whole league, I legitimately think that may be the highest Stuff Plus of any single pitch in baseball. Hunter Green's slider's at a 142. And this is 100 is average. And 110 is a good pitch. Like 10 points one way or the other makes it into a very good pitch. 15 points is elite. So to be where he is just absurd and shows you how good that splitter is, but it was always held back by the fastball. And so the advantage here to throwing the sinker. Okay, I have a little bit of a reputation amongst the Braves postcast crowd as being a cutter propagandist. I'm a big fan of giving dudes cutters because I think it works really well as a bridge pitch. It bridges so many options in your arsenal. Fastball slider is the most common one, but it can bridge a lot of things. Sinker, sweeper, cutter can sit in the middle. There's a lot of things that it can work to help them all play up from a tunneling perspective. But the other reason that I'm into cutters, and we see a couple of the really good pitching development organizations that have good results from ERA and all of that. We see a couple organizations do this. The Red Sox come to mind, the Brewers come to mind. Is if you don't throw an exceptionally good fastball, like if your four-seam fastball, think about Spencer Strider's 2023 four-seamer. One of the best fastballs in baseball, right? If you don't have an elite fastball, or in Waldrop's case, you have one that's incredibly ordinary, right? Remember, I always talk about the thing with pitching is to do something different, to do something unusual. If your fastball locations, your fastball movement is not in any way unique or original or not exactly what the hitter expects, build in that uncertainty by throwing multiple fastballs. If the problem is your four-seam fastball is predictable in its movement profile, throw more than just a four-seam fastball. Create unpredictability by intermixing a cutter and intermixing a sinker. Makes sense. If a guy with an ordinary four-seam fastball, a dead zone four-seam fastball, gets into a fastball count, the hitter is looking, one, for a fastball, and two, they're expecting a specific shape so that they can get a target in the strike zone for their swing. If you throw that dude a sinker, it's going to run from the barrel to the end of the bat. You throw a guy a cutter, it's going to run from the barrel to in on the hands. And they're not going to make quality contact. Like, it fixes the problem of your four-seam fastball is plain by giving you other options. Now, this is not a 100% perfect trade-off. You're going to give up some things when you do this. You're going to give up whiffs when you throw a sinker a lot more. Like, that's just, maybe the ceiling isn't nearly as high from a strikeout perspective. But Atlanta also has one of the best infield defenses in baseball. At a certain point, you take the outs. You take the outs however you can get the outs, right? So, like, having this sinker has been a huge freaking deal for Hurston Waldrep. They kept him up. Obviously, we're going to see a roster move at some point in time. I'm very confident it's not going to be Hurston Waldrep going back down before that next start, because if that was the case, they would have made him the 27th man. Maybe it's a DFA of an Eric Fetty, or maybe it's Bryce Elder being optioned back down. We'll see what they do, especially with Chris Sale coming back in a couple weeks. He has a rehab start tomorrow, by the way, in Gwinnett. He's making a rehab start for the Stripers, so he's probably a week or two away from coming back to the majors. But big deal that Hurston Waldrep added the sinker, because I feel like that is the key to unlocking and fixing everything. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Encase Cards, custom card manufacturer. I love these guys. They're good people, one, but they make a great product. You upload your source photos of whatever it might be. I obviously use it for U Sports. That makes the most sense, but it's applicable for a lot of other things too, right? Fantasy football leagues, family reunions, whatever. We're meeting my sister and her family at Thanksgiving, and everybody's going to get their own cards after we take family photos at Thanksgiving. It's going to be tons of fun. You go to ncasecards.com, ncasecards.com. You upload the photo. You choose the holographic options. You choose the background, all of that. Their designers make the card. They print it on high-quality cardstock. They slab it into a plastic case, and then they put the frame around it. You can pick different colors. Has a built-in stand so you can display it. Fantastic product, fantastic idea. Use promo code Braves today, hashtag Braves today, pound Braves today, depending on the generation you're in. Get you $5 off your order. Again, Encase Cards, ncasecards.com. Welcome back to Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby. And I want to talk about the offense from this weekend, right? Atlanta goes in here. They win 4 out of 5 against Miami. And yes, the game they lose was, from an offensive perspective, not good. 1 run on 2 hits against Edward Cabrera. They do get a solo shot. The Braves have actually hit a home run in 9 consecutive games, by the way. They have 16 homers in the last 9 games. But just an offense that has been much better, even going back to the Milwaukee series, right? They only scored 2 runs against Freddie Peralta. They only scored 1 run against Quinn Priester. But the at-bats were just better. If you look at the last 2 series they played, Milwaukee and Miami. Nope, let's go farther back. You look at the last 3 series they played, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, and Miami. 11 games, they scored 56 runs in those games, so over 5 a game. They walked almost 40 times, and it's 16 homers in this stretch. Just a much better job of offense. Since the All-Star break, they've been really good. They're like 7th in runs to 111, which is not amazing, but it's much better than they were earlier in the year. And they're doing this despite being 13th in home runs at 28 and 23rd in batting average at 238. And there's a couple reasons for this. One of the smaller ones is they're cashing in their opportunities. The last 7 games, shout out to Jake Mastriani, Locked On Braves, for the stat. They're hitting .321 with runners in scoring position in the last 7 games. But the bigger reason is the walks, right? Since the All-Star break, the Braves have 103 walks. The next closest team is the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they're at 78. Atlanta's drawing a ton of walks. They've had really good at-bats up and down the lineup, top to bottom, and it's definitely a sight for sore eyes. I'm incredibly happy about the quality of the at-bats that they've had. A lot of this feels, and here's the thing too, it's been against pitchers who either are having very good seasons or have very good stuff. When you look at who they're doing this against, Edward Cabrera, very good stuff. Yuri Perez, very good stuff. Chase Burns, the rookie for the Reds, very good stuff. Andrew Abbott, very good season. He has an ERA of 2.34. Freddie Peralta, never actually been that impressed with his stuff, but his ERA is just barely at 3, and he has more than a strikeout per inning. Sandy Alcantara, the season's a nightmare, but hey, very good stuff still, right? Fastball still has all that velocity and everything. So just really good at-bats by the Braves, taking plenty of pitches, working counts deep. Jurickson Profar has been very good in the last couple weeks. He's drawing walks. He's getting on base. He's making an amazing defensive play on, was that Friday night, I believe? Break out Old Chestnut here. Two things can be true at once. His defense is not good on the whole, but he can still make awesome plays like that from time to time. That was a great catch. And I think it's probably getting a lot more attention than when Michael Harris does it, simply because you don't expect Jurickson Profar to have good defense like you expect that out of Michael Harris. So, yeah, just a big deal there. The thing that I have noticed as well, and it's frustrating that this happens, but Drake Baldwin is slipping a little bit in the Rookie of the Year race. We'll discuss that next, right here on Braves Today. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. The flow of the show today is weird. I apologize. The puppy is losing his mind this morning, so there's a lot of background noise in here. I'm sorry about that. Bandit, I just need you to chill for 10 more minutes. Drake Baldwin's been the favorite for Rookie of the Year for a while now. And he's still the favorite, but it has incredibly narrowed. Okay, so Jacob Misiorowski of the Brewers was chasing him down. Kid made the All-Star game after 5 starts. They really need to have some sort of separate designation for that rising star kind of thing they want to bring to the All-Star game versus a standard All-Star. And then Misiorowski gets hurt, and we're like, okay, Drake Baldwin can just keep doing what he's doing and cruise with this. Isaac Collins of the Brewers has absolutely chased him down, and it's almost neck and neck right now. So Drake Baldwin on Shoutout FanDuel, sponsor FanDuel for the odds. Drake Baldwin minus 115 for Rookie of the Year. Isaac Collins minus 105. He's right there with him. And it wasn't even this close last week when I wrote about this over on the newsletter. And this is not anything that Drake Baldwin has done wrong, right? His average had dropped by the beginning of July all the way to 273. Remember, he was hitting in the 300s in May, and it slowly dropped, and he was hitting at 273. He's brought it back up. He's at 289 right now. Since the beginning of July, Drake Baldwin is hitting 305 with a 365 on base and a 486 slug. 25 RBI. 25 homers would be huge. 25 RBI in 30 games. But in that exact same time period, Isaac Collins is batting 358 with a 449 on base and a 541 slug. 4 homers, 21 RBI. But he's also getting the moments. As soon as the Braves game ended, I turned on Mets Brewers last night. And actually, I put this out on social media when the Mets weren't able to get Juan Soto in the top of the ninth. I said, hey, the Brewers are about to walk him off. Isaac Collins, 5th pitch of the inning off of Edwin Diaz, game-winning home run. And I know a lot of people have gotten mad about the playing time for Drake Baldwin. And they say that Atlanta is not playing him. He's made 8 starts in 9 games in the month of August. Right? He's had 3 at DH, 5 at catcher, and he came in as a pinch hitter in the one game he didn't start, the series finale against Milwaukee. Like, he's getting playtime. He's not been bad. Like, Sunday was the first game he had off completely in the month of August. And he started 8 of the 10 games. But he's hitting really well. Isaac Collins is just raking. When you look at like WAR, I think it was Fangraphs WAR, Isaac Collins leads rookies in the National League. So I don't want it to happen. I'm just putting it out there. It is possible that Isaac Collins runs him down. And maybe Drake Baldwin turns it up a notch and goes on a little bit more of a run, right? Gets a little more dominant in his hitting and things like that. And maybe he gets some of those moments, right? Maybe he has the clutch late homer to beat the Mets, just like Isaac Collins did. But when these voters vote, we have to remember that, like, they're human and they're susceptible to things like the Brewers are better than the Braves. Isaac Collins having those memorable moments, like walking off the Mets to cement a sweep and things like that. So hopefully it's not going to happen, but it's entirely possible that it does. This has been Braves Today for Monday, August 11th. Do me a favor, listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we drop the next episode. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.